Been wanting to buy a project boat for a while, just something that has basically no value that I could make into a nice center console fishing boat with a bracket, outboard bracket. I came across this Aristocraft, which was an interesting boat. It had a sliding hardtop that came with it. Had a decent trailer, but it was kind of small, and it had this weird curved transom that would have taken a huge amount of work to get an outboard bracket to fit on it. So I let it pass, although as far as Aristocrafts go, there was not a single hairline crack in this old boat, which is really unusual. So apparently it was well made. Another boat I looked at was this Seahawk. It's kind of a pretty boat, nice hull shape, a little bit thin in the front for Louisiana waters. We like a little more buoyancy up in the front of our boats to deal with our shallow water. But this boat had some serious issues. The motor was 20 years old and not worth messing with. It had a lot of rot. And this is the kind of boat that you really have to take down all the way to the hull, which is what I was planning on doing, and replace stringers and floors, etc. But the owner's mindset was that this was still a good boat, and his price reflected that. So we couldn't come to terms on a price, so we moved on. So I looked at several more boats, and I ended up with this boat. Not this particular boat. I didn't take any good photos of the boat that I purchased, but it's the same model, the same boat. It's a Chris-Craft 21.5 Seahawk cuddy cabin. It's got a walk-around cabin. It's got a nice hull shape. The price was right. The boat's totally rotten. So I drug it home on a very iffy trailer with iffy tires, no brakes, no lights, no nothing. Got it to my shop and started cutting. I had to go to the shop first because I need to remove the fuel tank and the outboard motors, and I wanted to use the forklift for that. So I spent the next 3 days at the shop. Not pleasant days. It's super hot. I'm in a parking lot, no shade, and I'm doing nasty work. This is wet, nasty, rotten wood. Using the grinder covered with fiberglass dust. There's no pleasant way to do this, but in a way it was easy because I wasn't trying to save anything. I just wanted everything out. I wanted to go down to the hull, start fresh. So I just started cutting. Now, that in itself is not very easy because these boats are made, this interior is made upside down in a big mold, and all the pieces parts are attached to it while it's still in that mold, and then they flip it over and put it on the boat, which makes it real hard to get to things. So you just gotta go after it. You gotta cut a lot of pieces. Now, I'm fully aware that this makes no economic sense. I probably will be lucky to sell this boat one day and get my material cost back, and not counting the next 8 months of labor I'm going to spend on it. And I understand that, and I'm okay with that. It's just something I want to do, and I have the resources, and I still have the health, so get after it. This funny cut you see here is because I was trying to save the windshield. I was hoping maybe somebody might need a windshield from a 21.5 Chris-Craft cuddy cabin. You never know. A little note on safety. Almost all of these cuts you see were made with the grinder with the little thin cutoff wheel, and I've used these things for years on steel, and I've probably only shattered a couple of wheels in the last 5 years cutting steel. But cutting this fiberglass, I had at least 10 wheels blow up on me, and I don't know why, unless maybe they're just getting so hot embedded in this fiberglass. But be careful. It drew blood 3 different times. I do wear glasses, so my eyes were okay. But just a note, I thought that was interesting that the wheels kept blowing up on me. I have removed a lot of pounds of fiberglass from the front of this boat. I don't think I'm going to put that much weight back. When I put it back together, I think the boat's going to float a little higher than original, which is a good thing. I had to get the fuel tank out while I was still at the foundry where the forklift is, and it was embedded in there impossibly tight. I took the Sawzall and cut the foam on both sides of the tank over and over and over, and I had a truck leaf spring that would fit under the front of it, and I pried on it, and it didn't want to come, and I kept prying. Finally, I put some blocks on the hull, and I pushed so hard on the pry bar that I figured either I'm going to poke a hole in the bottom of the boat or the tank's going to come loose. And it finally let go. So I was able to get the tank out, drained out, I don't know, probably 40 gallons of what used to be gasoline, now looks like coal tar. And of course I did this before I tried to get the tank out. And I got the old girls off the back of the boat, so I don't have to worry about them falling off anymore, because the transom was like totally rotten. I was actually so concerned I had tied them back with lines to the cleats on the back of the boat before I pulled the boat on with the truck, because I was scared they might fall off, the transom might break, and I could just see myself dragging the outboards down the street by the control cables, and I didn't want to have that. So a boat of this age with fiberglass covered stringers will almost always have rot in the stringers, because they just didn't use the best wood in the stringers, and somehow or another they always seem to get wet. Now this boat was parked under some trees, so it filled up with leaves, so all the limber holes clogged up, so it was just full of frickin' water, a foot deep. Everything was soaked through and through. The foam had been underwater so long that it was full of water, and it was just a mess. Now, right on the way home, the boat pulled so much better, because I probably had taken 2,000 pounds off of it, plus the 2 outboards. I got home, I could finish cutting out the rest of the transom, because the outboards weren't on it anymore. And then I started tackling the foam, which was a lot of it. I guess it was a full flotation boat, even though the regulations, I don't know who writes these regulations, but it's typically 20 foot or under are required to have full flotation, manufactured boat that is. And this boat's 21 foot, but it seemed to have a lot of foam, so I'm assuming that was for flotation. And I played with different ways to get it out, and turns out that using the Sawzall and cutting around the perimeter on the outside of the stringers, and then chopping it up into blocks, and you just pretend you're an Eskimo and you're mining ice to make an igloo. So it all came out okay. Filled up 8 garbage bags and 2 garbage cans, and got it almost all out to the street on the first week. I'll have to bring another bag or 2 out this coming week. So now in my driveway next to my shop, where is it's the only place to have a project is next to your shop. It's a 21.5 foot Chris Craft hull. It's a nice shape. I really like the shape. It's very roomy on the inside. Now they got rid of all the compartments in the cuddy cabin and the walk around and all that. Just took up a huge amount of space on the boat. Now it's just wide open. It's ready for head scratching and deciding how to fix things, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's under the tree, so I get some shade, which in Louisiana in the summer, it's a big deal. So next up, I need to get the boat off the trailer so I can bring the trailer to the shop and do some work on it. I need to turn the boat around so that I don't have to walk the length of the boat to get to the back. I'll be coming and going out that back for a long time, many trips. If I can turn it around with the back end facing the direction I'm coming from, the shop, it'll save me a lot of steps. And I need to decide what method and which materials I'm going to use for the stringer replacements and the floor, the bottom. So lots of head scratching coming up. Thanks for watching.